It was a great day, and then I got interviewed by the local news station asking about what was going on in relationship to what was being shown there, and so I'm kind of visible to the community in Nebraska. I'm very out and open and outspoken.
Yes, we do need the visibility and the voice. So, how about this one?
And that was one of my good friends behind Senator Kauth. We're working very hard to see that she is not reelected and her extremist views get exposed.
Okay.
And also during that time, I think there was I think it was, I don't know if it was Trans Day of Visibility or not, but it was there was a walkout at the Omaha Central High School by the students, and so we went down to support them. There was a lot of kids that were out. I don't have any pictures because I don't like to show kids or anything without their parents' consent, but that is some of my friends, and we were out supporting the kids and their.
So just give the audience some context. What's the population of trans youth or kids in Nebraska?
I don't think we have an accurate count of the number of them, but it's probably along the same lines of percentages as it is in other places. Nebraska is not a very populous state. Nebraska has a population of under 2 million, or right at 2 million. And so if, you figure 1% of the population, that it's not a large number of folks, but they are with an incredible community. The Rainbow Moms who have trans kids are an incredible group of ladies who fight for their kids, and they do such amazing work.
Okay. And what about this picture?
Oh, this is
who are those two beautiful ladies in the black?
This was at our Omaha Blue Dot dinner. If you know anything about electoral politics in America, the president is not chosen by the voters. The voters choose people who will be electors, who will then vote for the president for the Electoral College. And in Nebraska, we divide up our Electoral College votes by congressional district, and us and Maine are the only two states that do that. And so in a couple of elections, we have Nebraska, which is an incredibly red Republican state. I mean, it's very red. In Omaha, we call it the Blue Dot because we have twice sent our Electoral College vote for the Democratic candidate. So we had our Blue Dot dinner, and this is a group of my friends that I'm involved with back there. This is the Nebraskans Against Government Overreach. There's a right-wing group in Nebraska that has been kind of using that name, and we went and incorporated as a 501c4 activist organization, political action committee. We're registered with the Federal Election Commission, and we have a registered lobbyist with the state. So we stole their name, and I use their own words against them all the time because I am opposed to government overreach into individuals' lives, and there can be nothing more of a government overreach than telling a parent and a child what they can and can't do for their medical treatment, telling a woman what she can and can't do for her necessary medical medical needs. And so we co-opted, we are now Nebraskans Against Government Overreach. And when I testified earlier with the senator about the chaplains instead of counselors, I started off by saying I was president of Nebraskans Against Government Overreach, and he was a little confused, and he said, "Well, I think there's another group," and I was like, "There is? Well, okay." We're the only one who's a registered lobbyist, has a registered lobbyist, and is a PAC. So yeah, go on about it, but we are them.
Okay. Yeah. So, and then this picture, she's your friend, right?
Yeah. So I was so excited earlier in the year when my roommate Allison, who has been my roommate for 6-7 years, I don't know the exact number now, but she is an amazing, amazing gal. She's on the Sheriff's Advisory Committee, trans woman who I've known for a long time. And before she transitioned, she had been an executive at Hertz and an executive for Tyson.
Wow.
And so she had lost everything in her transition.
Okay. So they fire her. Is that?
She lost her job. She got divorced, lost her house, lost her savings, and was living with her parents in Lancaster. And so I told her as soon as she got a job that she had a room in my house. She was one of the first people to see my house that I bought back in 2017. Helped me move in, and I told her as soon as she had a job, she had a place to stay.
So this work discrimination is even before this past 2-3 years?
Oh,
Back
this
in 17, 16?
This was 2016,
Wow.
or this was 2014, 2015 when she started her transition,
Oh.
and she lost everything. And so the only job that she was able to find when she first got out here was at Magic Mountain making minimum wage. And I have seen her as she has persevered and extended her education. She got a job at the LGBT Center where she still works. And I was so incredibly proud when she graduated with her master's degree in psychology from Pepperdine, and is now going into working with troubled youth and the trans community. And it's such an amazing story of how she was able to build back up from everything that she lost because of the discrimination against trans people.
Yeah, it's not easy because me personally, especially these past 2 years, because I kind of I would consider more lucky or blessed that I started working with mainstream in the beginning, and it was a smooth ride, to be honest with you. But then this past 2 years, I started since the discrimination. Even though I'm not employed with anybody, self-employed, but we're doing business. You always have to with another business or another person in contact. So I started since that discrimination, and people or business seems to be afraid to associate them with me because I'm a trans, and it's very sad to see that, because I feel like I have so much to offer as a person, as a profession. And then they don't see that. And then they just focus on who am I? And okay, once they know who am I, they don't care about what you can offer. And that's really...
And it's so irrational.
Yeah.
And it's so demeaning to us as people. And we've seen such a dramatic increase in the use of dehumanizing language towards trans people, where they're not talking about someone being trans. They're talking about, you're an advocate for this trans ideology. I'm like, my existence isn't an ideology. My existence is who I am.
Or cult.
I'm not in a cult. It's not like we have this big meeting and everybody gets together and starts worshiping this one deity, unlike Republicans and Trump. Where they do that, and they're willing to put aside every conceivable, fault and wrong, and blame it on, this vast conspiracy against Donald Trump, when in fact, he's somebody who's been a grifter his entire life and career. This is just entirely in keeping with what his character has been. The number of contractors that he ruined over the course of his career is staggering. The number of people who have been ripped off by his schools and other things. And so, yeah, they say we're in a cult, and yet they think this man who is not nice and who's only out for himself is somehow this great savior for this country of ours. And so, yeah, when you want to talk about cults, being trans is not a cult because, frankly, the differences of everyone within our community is so widespread that it couldn't ever qualify as that. But they like to use that dehumanizing language so that it makes it easier for people to not like us, not because of who we are individually, but because we're part of this group of folks who are bad.
Yeah, I think a lot of misinformation because I mean I'm not putting any drag entertainer down or anything, but they I believe they associate drag queens with trans, associate sexuality gay with trans, gender
The,
identity. So because that's how I feel because when I talk to people personal level or professional level, I feel they will say, "Oh, I'm straight. I'm not gay." But this has nothing to do with that. And when it comes to business, they feel like, "Oh, if I'm associated with you, then I might lose deals or lose credibility." You know,
and
so
we've moved backwards so much
yeah,
in the last few years in that regard, where we had been making incredible headway. I do think the tide is starting to turn somewhat, and that um, the anti-trans animus and bills, they're starting to die off, and the people who support them are finding that they're not getting reelected. And so they want to use this as a political wedge issue, but it's an incredibly losing one for their
yeah,
part.
like
Um,
Florida is a good example because I believe they are the first state to start this whole thing, right?
The
Florida.
well, the history of anti-trans animus, is far and long, but I think it really gets its genesis back in 2015
Hmm.
with the Hero Amendment in Houston. That's where it really started picking up
Okay.
speed. They started attacking the Houston Human Rights Amendment that allowed people who were trans to use the restrooms of their choice, and there was a big push and election, and that was followed shortly after that by the law HB2 in
Hmm.
Tennessee,
Right.
or not Tennessee. God, where was that? Virginia, whatever it was.
Okay.
No, it was Nashville. Anyway, wherever HB2 was, it ended up costing the governor reelection.
Hmm.
Businesses protested and pulled out, and so we got a lot of positive from that. And then they regrouped,
Hmm.
and these right leaning religious organizations, um, such as the Family Research Council,
Right.
um, began a longer process of figuring out ways to attack what they call trans ideology.